Hello and welcome to the podcast where we explore all of the intricacies of audio drama and actual plays, and I'm delighted today to be joined by FLLOYD Kennedy. FLLOYD, tell us a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Okay, well, I'm FLLOYD with 2 L's. I have to put that in because if you search for me with 1 L, you won't find me. It just doesn't exist.
The joys of the internet.
The joys of the internet, indeed. It also, that's another story there. I'm digressing already. How did I get into podcasting?
Yeah,
Who am
exactly. But yeah, I mean, talk about, obviously, yeah, Am I Old Yet is the one that I'm aware of. And, I think it's a fantastic concept. And the way you've explored around it is interesting. But in case the audience haven't heard about that, do you want to tell us a little bit about that?
Okay, well, Am I Old Yet with a question mark is comedy fiction. It's completely kind of off the top of my head. That's how it came into being. A friend early in lockdown was inviting people to write and perform a 10-minute audio sketch to entertain their local community theatre on their website. So I thought, well, okay, I know how to record, I know how to perform. I'll write something. And so I was on my own in my little house here in Liverpool, and so that was the size of my bubble. But I thought, well, supposing there was a woman my age and she's in a bubble and she's got a daughter staying in the bubble with her, and the daughter's terribly anxious all the time.
That would never happen.
I have 2 sons, and they never strike me as being anxious about me. But the one son who lives here in Liverpool, he did say to me about a month after we first were hearing about COVID, and I was down at his office for a coffee, and he said, "Shall I call you a taxi, Mum?" I said, "No, I'll just get the bus." He said, "Mum, don't get the bus. Don't ever get the bus again until." Well, I thought I hadn't thought of that. So I got a taxi home. And that's the only time I can think of him sort of stepping in to stop me from doing anything.
But that doesn't sound like the kind of intervention I think you kind of get into, the kind of like almost like the reverse henpecking, the kind of nesting.
Yes.
Am I getting the right tone there?
Yes, exactly. I thought it would be amusing if this elderly lady had a very anxious, like 5th postmenopausal daughter staying with her who was always saying, "Oh, Mum, Mum."
It has that kind of like classic BBC comedy kind of like tonality to that, doesn't it? So,
well, that's what I grew up with. I mean, it was ABC in Australia first, which was based on the BBC model. I listened to a lot of audio drama when I was growing up. They had a special children's program in the afternoon that you came home and couldn't wait to turn on the radio and listen to it. So yes. So that was my first idea. And then what happens? Well, the phone rings and she bumps into something, and the daughter is sort of, "Oh, Mommy," or all of this kind of thing. And she picks up the phone and there's nobody there. So she gets pissed off with that. And then the daughter's saying, "Who is it? Who is it?" And she's going, "Oh, it's one of those spammers. It's a spammer." Is that the right word?
Yeah.
So we've got all of this kind of, just kind of general cacophony. Anyway, I wrote the 10-minute sketch. I sent it off, and they had a judging panel, and they said, "Yes, we love it." And I thought, "Oh, let's do another one." So I did another 10-minute sketch. So I got a granddaughter this time, and the granddaughter's going, "Well, as a young person," and I'm going, that drives me insane. Am I supposed to go around saying, "As an old person"? "Oh, but you're not old." And I'm going, "Well, what am I if I'm not old?" Okay. So that was episode 2. And then I had an idea for a third one. I can't remember what episode 3 was. But by this stage, I was thinking, I'll put it on my website as well. So I stuck them up on my website. And then I thought, what's this podcasting thing? So I knew
especially in that period where COVID is starting, there's an awful lot of us who, I was doing recordings about interviews for game development because that was my job. But a lot of people I know started their actual plays or their audio dramas in that COVID period because for a lot of them were furloughed and they had that creative need that they wanted to get out. So I can imagine that this is a perfect chance to sort of grab into that.
Well, absolutely. I had been doing voice coaching at a couple of drama schools up here in the Northwest, and that closed down, and I couldn't see it opening it up again anytime soon. So that was my main source of income at that time. I didn't have any acting work. I had actually a solo show ready, booked to go to the Brighton Fringe and then to tour it. So that never happened.
Yeah,
And
and a lot of
so,
actors at the time,
yep,
literally, musicians, actors, all sorts of creative performers just had no options at all, did they?
absolutely. And so having discovered that I could do all these voices, because I was just doing it all myself, invent a new character, pick a different accent, do a funny voice, I was having so much fun. I love doing voices.
Yeah.
And so it went on like that. I sort of investigated how do you set up a podcast. I knew what they were. I listened to the radio all the
Mhm.
time, but listening to podcasts I hadn't gotten into at that point. But when they first came in, my other son had said to me from a voice coaching, he said, "Mum, you should do a podcast." So I'd looked into it and I thought, oh God, there's a lot of work there.
Well, that's an interesting question, though. I mean,
Huh?
so
Yeah.
I mean, to the point of your podcast, you don't look like that person who is the natural high tech, wizard who would understand how all of the back end stuff would work. How did was that daunting? Was that normal? Was that just a thing? How did you deal with that?
That wasn't the daunting part.
Okay,
No,
yeah,
I know I don't look it like it, as you say, but I have been working with computers since the early 1980s
yeah,
anyway.
yeah,
So I love the tech. I love the new gadgets. I was always an early uptaker, shall we
yes.
say. That's what we used to call them back in the day. Um,
Well, the reason I was being a bit naughty saying that, because when we first met, I remember overhearing you having this detailed conversation with somebody around some audio software. There was someone talking about audio software in this meetup with audio drama people. I remember you being in there with another guy talking about it. So that's kind of why I raised it, because
yes.
you but people make these assumptions, but I'm amazed by the people I'm 57, but people younger than me that don't have the attention span or don't have the interest to
Mm,
learn how to use the tools.
mm,
It
yeah.
baffles me.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you have to want to do the thing that the tool is
Yes,
for.
you do.
And that was always what it was with me.
Mm.
I mean, I love playing with the new toys, but I had to have it wouldn't occur to me to get something new unless I had something I wanted to do that was gonna help me do it better.
No,
I don't
completely.
say easier because there's all this talk about all the current cacophony around tools that make it easier. I don't want it made easier. That's the last thing
It's nice to have a barrier to entry.
is, and it's also you don't learn if it's easy. You're not learning anything. You're not growing. You're not actually being creative if you're doing
Yeah.
the easy thing. So,
Yeah, and it's an interesting one. I mean, I'm not planning to go into the whole kind of debates on these things because I know they're nuanced and mixed, and particularly in this scene, it's so complicated. We're both part of a group called Fable and Folly, and there's a big debate going on about AI right now. And again, like I say, this isn't the intended conversation.
yes,
However, let's step back from that. So you've discovered you were sparked into writing this
yes.
series of pieces. You've enjoyed making them, you've written them, and now you've brought them into your own domain. How did you approach that? Because obviously, is there a kind of production process that you take? When did you decide this isn't something I'm just going to do the next one, but I'm actually going to have a plan to continue? Well, did you
There's
ever come up with a plan?
there was never a plan.
Yeah.
I got to episode 23
Yeah.
and I kept thinking, oh, I wish I could just take a break before it occurred to me that all I had to do was take a break. That's how good my planning was.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
every episode was pretty much standalone, just another episode in Helen's life. There wasn't an ongoing story any more than she'd meet someone,
Yeah.
they'd have a conversation, something
But
might happen.
you
And
had a conceit which
that was
you
it.
returned to, I
Yes.
presume. Yeah.
Yes. What's Helen up to today? Basically, that was it. Who's she talking to? And it was all about who's she talking to. Where did she meet these? Oh, well, there's a cafe. She's got to have a cafe. She goes to this cafe. She meets people there. oh, there's a park. She goes to the park, meets people in the park, and then various people that her daughter and her granddaughter introduce her to, by way of their lives. But
Yeah.
that was
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
It wasn't a serial. It
No.
was a series. That
No,
wasn't
totally get
even
it. Totally get
terming
it.
it in those words at all. But then I decided to take a break. But I I I just liked doing it, so I was writing episodes in my break. So I had 3 or 4 episodes ahead when I started up about a month later. And that's pretty much how it's gone. But along the way, I did stumble into more kind of storytelling process, which again, learning by accident, it was all Sarah Golding's fault. She
Yeah. Yeah.
put a comment on Facebook in the Audio Hub Facebook group. Why is the chosen one always a teenager?
Yes.
And
Totally. Totally.
somebody popped up, yeah, it should be a menopausal woman, they'll fix it. And I popped up, or it should be a senior citizen. And Sarah commented back, do it, do it, do it, do it.
Whilst you're here, don't forget to check out our actual play, The Anything Could Happen Show, on YouTube and all good podcast sites, where I put my guest players through no-win scenarios with limited information and always against the clock. And of course, where anything could happen.
You are merely identified by your
Pod
cryopod
number.
number. Yeah, your pod numbers. And obviously, you are waking up in a pod. The air is thin. Light is pulsing in an uneven amber colour. Around you are 5 other identical pods, 2 of which are still sealed and 4 of which are open. You see the other pods have other people in them. You can't make out who's in the shut pods, but from the open ones, you see beings that, well, one which looks like you, but the other 2 look distinctly alien. A distorted voice repeats from everywhere and nowhere. Failure to sustain, nearly not supporting, requiring leaving, delaying prevents continuing. Around the room are various control systems. Each are marked in a curious set of symbols with odd-looking images. Something's gone very wrong, and you have no idea of who you are. I've only met Sarah a few times, but I so love the chats I've had with her. And for those who don't know, she does a whole bunch of work in terms of production around audio drama, and has a podcast of her own where she talks to other people who make podcasts. And I'm trying to I want to try and get her to come and join me at some point. But I kind of love that idea, the idea that you're sitting there and you're not just doing in isolation, because writing can often be an isolated kind of process, but you're being part of a community. You're listening to other people, what they're doing, and you'll be taking influences from them, and even sounds like almost direction from that.
Well, it's the only time I've actually taken direction from someone suggesting a particular sort of theme.
Avenue, yeah.
I just thought, okay, what would happen if Helen goes down to the coffee shop and there's a strange woman who's been asking after her and then comes up to her and says, you are the chosen one. And she's going, yeah, right.
That reminds me of what was there's a whole fantasy series that I'm trying to remember the name of that kind of recalls really kind of classic one where the Tales of Thomas Covenant or something, where the guy just rejects any possibility of him being a chosen one, which I kind of love the idea of. I mean, obviously that's a very different thing than you're doing, but playing with that conceit of the hero's journey, the Joseph Campbell kind of model, the Star Wars story, I think is really fascinating.
Yeah, well, I was kind of avoiding that for as long as I could get away with it. But in this case, and this is actually, when I tell you, stuff that cropped up, to give you an idea of my lack of planning. So she meets them and she just thinks it's hilarious, goes home, phones her daughter and says, ha, 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 I'm the chosen one. And her daughter's saying, oh, you've got to look out, people are scamming you, Mom. And she goes, oh, what's my superpower? Maybe I can blow all the rubbish in the world up off the planet. And she opens a window and goes, and all the rubbish outside goes, yeah. Okay, now we've got that. But then what happens next? And what I discovered was I got to about episode 4 or 5. I hadn't published anything yet. And I suddenly realized, oh, hang on a sec, I better check what I said in episode 1. And so then I realized that I would kind of have to finish the whole season before I published anything, so that I knew it actually made sense all the way through and constantly going back to check what you've done. Now, I mean, I've written plays in the past where I have started in my ramshackle, just dive in head first way, and then reached the point, okay, now I've got to go back. And there's someone was talking about it on the radio the other night. They were talking about a 5-step plan, circular
Yeah.
plan thing. And I remembered this was someone suggested to me, I think it was 9. So you've got whatever happens in the first part has to be tied up with something in the 9th.
Okay.
2 and 8, 3 and 7, 4 and 6, 5's in the middle. Is that right? Something like that.
Yeah, that sounds right. I'm trying to work out because
It actually forms a spiral. You can take from what's going
okay.
at 5 and then go 5 to 4 to 6 to 3 to 7 to 2 to 8 to 1 to 9.
That's a new one on me. I like to kind of read up about various because I don't. I'm an amateur writer rather than a professional writer, but I'm very interested in how writing and game design works together. And so I spent a lot of time thinking about things like the hero's journey, the way that we have a 3-act or a 5-act play, Save the Cat as a model.
Mm-hmm.
I find it really fascinating to see how people who are, actual proper writers, talk about the way that they build story and how they set up narrative. But that spiral sounds an interesting one. I'll have to get you to send me a link or something to
I'll
help
have
me
to
understand that
do
one.
some research and sort of see if I can track it down because I haven't touched it. That was the last solo show that I toured.
Yeah.
I used that system on.
But it's fascinating because if I've understood correctly, what you're saying is that what you're thinking about in structure. So you were doing it as this is an interesting thing, this is an interesting thing, and they connect together. But then as you were realizing you were doing something a bit more framed, a bit more structured, you had to think about the foreshadowing and the payoff process.
Yes.
In order to have the callbacks
Yeah.
that would allow the whole situation, which was absurdist,
Yes.
to have some grounding. Does that make sense?
Yes, absolutely. Yes. So that was that and I mean the upshot of the whole there were 2 or 3 seasons that kept going with the these ancient Greek deities who had appointed Helen. And why can't you do it? Well, why can't they do it? They don't have the power anymore, but they have the power to gift the power to a human. Okay, so for me, it's good. It's got to be logical.
But it fits with some of the expectation of Greek mythology anyway. You'd give Perseus this set of equipment that Perseus could go and solve, whatever the problem was.
Yeah. But the thing that I really discovered along the way of that storyline is that everything has unintended consequences.
Yeah.
Which is how I managed to get Helen to a point where she's going, no, I'm not doing that anymore.
Yeah. Well, I like that. That's cool. I think that's a very cool way to look at it.
Yeah.
So having gone from this kind of like your this emergent storytelling writing process to this more structured storytelling process, did that change the way you looked at how you created your
No, I went back to the one-off idea after that.
Just easier.
It was less time intensive, we say. I figured it out. I could write an episode 2 days. So I could write it in 1, check it over and get it, looking okay in 2 days. Have an idea for an episode, see who's available to be the other voices, my mates who volunteer their services. And whoever's available, then I'll write an episode for those characters.
So that's interesting. So you're finding out who's available to be the cast before you finalize what you want the story to be.
When I've got my head on straight, that's what I do. Sometimes I forget and I write it and they're not free. And
the frustration that I imagine. I have a different set of problems because I do one-off scenarios with my Anything Could Happen, but they're all about these short dilemmas. But the aim is that the players are, I'm going to use the word disposable. Obviously, they're wonderful, fabulous people who volunteer and they play my game and hopefully they have fun doing it. But the characters that they play are essentially disposable. intentionally, and they're all almost never reoccur, which is literally a lazy technique I've adopted in order so I don't have to have an ongoing plot. The world can change, the players impact the world, and it's permanent.
Yeah.
But the characters aren't.
Yes.
And I think these different ways of slicing how we can resolve the fact that a lot of us, I don't know about for yourself, because obviously you also are an actor and a voice coach. I have a day job. I'm doing this because I want to do it. I think we often find ways that we can make this process manageable so that we can keep it up.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Exactly. It has to be relatively stress-free. It does come. I mean, I love doing it. It keeps me going
Totally.
in the writing and in the performing sort of aspects of my life. I went through the whole thing once I'd been going for about 6 months. I had got it up onto Buzzsprout. I'd got I think I just had a page in my own website at that point. It was a couple of years before I got a pod page, self page for the podcast kind of thing.
Yes, exactly. Yeah.
And I was doing all the things that you're supposed to do to get an audience. You mentioned that at the beginning. What do you do to get an audience? These days, bugger all. It's a lost cause. If people are listening and they like it, tell somebody. That's got to be the way. It's just because what year is this? 26, 25, 24, 2024. I applied for, Airtable. It's the American crowd. They put out a call out for people of diversity sort of thing to apply to do their workshop program, and they paid you $500 to do it.
Fantastic.
And I thought, well, I'll never get that, so I'll just apply because it's good for you to, have to write for these things. So I applied and I got it.
Fantastic.
And it was something like 3 months, might have been 4 months, of twice a week evening workshops, 2-hour workshops. The first hour was usually the people who were leading the thing talking to us and finding out where we were at and this kind of thing, and us talking to each other, the cohort. And the second hour, they would have some presenter, professional person, came in and presented their stuff to us. It was heavily Apple
orientated.
Orientated, yes. I learned some really useful stuff there, which I've never put into action, which is a bit silly of me, but still.
No, but it will have sunk in. I mean, I say that I've done a bunch of that. Yeah, I've done a bunch of things like that to help accelerator programs from a game development point of view, where I'm the guy doing the presentation and trying to teach people about the mechanics and the mechanisms and the business and the process of making games. And I know that people on those courses, they almost never do the thing that you're talking about. But what I found really fascinating is when you see them later and they've been successful or not, it's the connective tissue that they've gained from participating in that. And part of that's what you talk about as a presenter, but most of it's about the interaction that they have with the other people in.
Absolutely. They set it up that way that we were a cohort from word go and to talk to each other. And I'm still in contact with about 3 or 4 of that 14 kind of thing. And we know how to find each other. There were 2 actions, shall we say, that came out of that process that I followed up on in full. One was I applied for and did a short course with Lauren from Tink Media on how to, set up, promote audience growing. She's a great gal. She really knows her stuff. But if I wanted to go ahead with the full course, it was going to cost me $5,000. I thought, no, this is just, not going there. But the other one was one of our mentors. She mentioned Fable and so you should get yourself into Fable and Folly. And I said, well, how do you get in? Do you know anyone? She said, yeah, here's their email addresses. So she gave me Russ and Sean's email addresses and said, no, just write to them. And I said, can I mention you? Yeah, mention my name. It doesn't matter. Just write to them. So I wrote, and I got a reply from Russ about 3 weeks later, saying, yeah, that's lovely. You're in.
Yeah, and it's slightly similar to me. I mean, a friend of mine, Kareem, who I know you know, who I've known for like 30 years, and we used to go to game conferences together. and he was a regular player of the thing that became my podcast, and he was one of the people who encouraged me to do it as a podcast. So I'm just, it's fab that I get to spend some time with him. I very rarely get a chance to see him otherwise. But he happened to know those guys. He happened to know a whole bunch of other people, and then I met other people like him who does the Lucky Die and Blight House, and so all these people, it turned out, were all interconnected. And then the next thing I know, I'm on a call with Russ, and I go to the podcast show and I meet Sean over a beer in a local bar outside of the event. And it's just like when you kind of connect with people who clearly are creatives first, trying to create a community. It's such a difference. Yeah. And I know I don't take full advantage of it. And I started off with all this intention, and then I decided I was going to do a tech startup, and I've been distracted somewhat, shall we say.
Yes.
Yeah. Well, to be honest, you could argue the other way around. I should be focusing on the tech stuff, but it keeps me sane to do creative stuff.
This is the thing.
Yeah.
And as far as the whole marketing thing, I'm fond of telling people, I've done at least 3 full-on marketing courses over the last sort of 20, 30 odd years. Night school courses in marketing. I could teach the damn thing, but I can't do it. It's not in my skill set.
Well, the irony is, I'm actually a trained marketeer. I have letters after my name. I'm a member of the Chartered Institute of Marketing. Allegedly. I haven't paid since the first year I got it. I have my diploma in marketing. I spent, about half of what I do is marketing. And depending on your definition of marketing, to me, I'm a big believer in the 4 Ps, where product, so the thing that you have, is part of the marketing. But I also have spent half of my career talking about how to use marketing, particularly ads, as a way of acquiring users and as a way of funding your game. So I literally have no excuse. I'm supposed to know this stuff. But the thing is that, I don't have personal budget to put into it.
Yeah, there's the thing.
That's a big deal. But
it is.
It's an odd one, though, because I think that, you can't easily just drop money on an audio drama. I don't think it works like that. But for me, again, anything social, anything community-based, like you said, is if you like it, tell someone.
Yep. That is my conclusion over the past sort of year and a half, really, is that the best marketing tool you've got is the audience that you've got. But you have to keep reminding them, keep saying, please.
That's part of the reason why I do this, is because, I like talking to other people who are creative and try to find out how they do it. If we connect our audiences and people who like the stuff you do and people who like the stuff I do, if there is an overlap, fantastic. If there isn't, that's okay. You don't have to like all the same stuff. But I love sitting there chatting to people about what they do. We got ourselves a little bit on a tangent there, because I wanted to get us in talking about your practical. We were talking about how you're writing your episodes based on the people you've managed to say, yep, I'm going to commit to doing it this date. What's next? And now, are you writing the script first? Is there to and fro between you and the performer? Are you just giving them a script and getting them to record in isolation? Or are you bringing them into a room? How are you doing it?
I send out the script. If they're in Liverpool, I'll ask them to come over here and sit with me to record. If they're not in Liverpool, and most of them are not, then they're recording online. Some are happy to record on their own and send it to me, and some would much rather I'm there with them online recording them. So it's and then you find out, after you work with some people on a couple of episodes, whether you need to be there, or they're going to give you what you want anyway.
So in terms of that, because what you've got me thinking about here is, when you say you want to be with them or not, are we talking about doing performances as if live together to make sure you get the dialogue, or are you talking about it from the point of view of you being able to provide a director voice?
Very much director voice, yeah.
So you're recording them individual parts and then editing them together afterwards.
I'm reading in for the other characters.
Yeah.
I would kill to be able to have everybody recording at the same time.
Wouldn't it be amazing?
Bonding,
Yeah.
I've twice had the opportunity with a new season to get everybody. Well, you never get everybody, but to get most of the people to do an online read through. But because there's never everybody's ever there, I've never had it in come out in a shape that I can say I can just throw that out and promote that.
Yeah. I do think it's a fascinating area, and I think that the craft requirements on what you do are higher because of the expectation of what you're going to. We expect to hear BBC quality kind of experiences. I think if for those who've listened to the Radio 4 plays, that's what you would think is the baseline of what an audio drama should sound like, rightly or wrongly.
In my dreams.
In your, but you know what I mean. There's a high bar.
Oh yeah.
Whereas for my stuff, it's people having a conversation in an online space,
Yes.
and it's okay to be a bit flubby. Especially my accents. Not good. I like doing accents too. I'm not good at them.
I used to think I wasn't good at them. And then I went to do a course in how to do them, and they kept telling me I was good at them. So I just don't argue anymore. But I do know that I have to work. I have to work at them. No,
I'm not good at them because I can do it. I can do the right tone, and then 3 seconds later, it's not the right tone anymore.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. I drift. Yeah.
Yeah. The drift.
The drift, exactly. But so you're recording these pieces. You're getting each of the performers' script through. Do you get them to record extra lines, multiple versions, multiple emphasis?
Most of them, yes. 2 is good for me. Some of them will do 3, but 2, I find the more experienced actors, 2 is good. I stopped the other day and thought, when I've been cast in an audio and they send me my lines, I don't do 2 takes. What I'll do is I'll do 1 take, and if I'm not happy with a bit of it, I'll do that again.
Yeah, I get it.
There's one called Dracula 2004 that I'm Dr. Ariana Van Helsing, 84
I think Karim's in that,
old.
isn't he?
Sorry?
Isn't Karim in that?
Yeah, he popped up his voice popped up in the last episode, I think. I didn't realize he was in it too yet. But I did something like 34 episodes, and I just went through them they're short episodes, about 14 minutes, but I went through them one at a time, recorded them, just 1 take. But as I say, and then I would listen back, and I thought, I'm not too happy about that section. I would go in and put another take in just for that section. And I'm listening to them, and she came back to me, I think, when I sent them, there was 2 episodes that she said, we need a little bit more of this tone for this scene. I said, wacko the diddlio. I want to do that. Yeah. But the actors who are recording for me, it's 2 takes. And I only ask for more, because if you get someone that is not all that experienced and they think they're giving you a second take, but it's the same.
Yeah. So, but presumably how do you make sure that you're getting the right material? Do you feel like you need to put in a lot of director notes in the script, or are you just leaving there?
Absolutely not.
Yeah. No.
Yeah. No. I'm the opposite. I think Shakespeare didn't write in any stage directions.
Yeah.
I'm not going to.
Fair enough.
Let the actors play.
But they get to see the other script that's going on, presumably, so they know some context.
If they can be bothered reading it. Most of them don't. I know actors. I'm one. You read.
Where's the highlighter pen? I'll read the highlighted lines.
Yes, but if they've seriously missed the point of something, then I'll just get back and say, "Can you do that again?"
And I imagine most people are pretty okay with that. Especially, I think the nice thing about being able to do home recording, and let's face it, post-COVID, most actors, or voice actors, almost even amateurs like me, have a space where we can record at a reasonable level. I'm not particularly fussed. In fact, if you took to take my setup, it's the worst imaginable. I've got a PC blaring away with fans, but because I've got my mic set up okay, I'm generally okay. But most people I know have much cleaner setups often in the cupboard under the stairs.
Yeah, I wish I could do that.
Yeah.
I've got a corner of my sitting room, and it's a tiny house, so it's not a very, very big room. But I went and got behind the screen here. There used to be a wall and a tiny kitchen, but I had the wall knocked down and got a new kitchen in last year. So now I've got sound panels that I stack up around myself here.
Yeah.
The screen.
And that's a difficult thing, is because there's a certain level of craft, but like we talked earlier, there are also tools out there that do make these things easier.
Yeah.
But they leave a. I think if you're a total audiophile, you can tell the difference. I'm not. I don't hear the nuance that
Yeah.
some people do.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't, I don't go into it that much. I got into audio recording when I took myself off to university at the age of 55. And one of the courses that was on offer was sound recording. And it
Mm.
was as an elective, and I needed another. No, I actually didn't need another elective. It was in my final year. But I thought, oh, sound recording. So I went along for 6 weeks. I had to pull out after 6 weeks because I had to work. And all they did nothing but teach us how to use Audacity, the basics.
But it's yeah,
That was it. Fabulous. From then on,
Yeah.
in my theatre work, anything like that,
yeah.
I could always, make sure that the sound effects, all of that kind of stuff, and I recorded my own music and stuff. So, yeah, so I came to the podcasting thing with, experience at that basic level, but kind of and built up since then. So I've got more knowledge and more understanding. I'm getting more to grips. The EQ for years, just totally, I don't want to go there. And now I've finally figured what it
I vaguely get positional audio, but
Mhm.
that's about as far as I understand.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, if you want your actor to sound like they're on the phone, you
Yeah.
close down the envelope of the
Yes.
EQ. That's my favorite one.
Don't get me wrong. I've got a fabulous little mixing desk thing, which I have no idea how to use.
Huh.
And it's supposed to have all these like plug-in effects.
Yeah.
But I think it's probably better just to take it clean and try and do it on software because I literally have no idea.
Yeah.
But it's interesting. So back to this idea there. So you've got the audio, you've got the recordings, you're now putting together the editing. Are you doing the editing yourself or are you working with somebody who
Yes.
does the editing?
No, I do it all.
Yeah.
All me.
So
So,
you're sitting
yeah.
there, large files, presumably, lots of channels, trying to work out how to fit them all together and time them.
Yeah, well, I kind of do them one at a time. I'll put my voice down. I've got my track with my voice on it. I'll bring the next actor that I'm in conversation with. I'll bring that one in. We'll line that up. Then I'll bring, if there's a third actor in that scene, I'll line that up. In the meantime, and I've discovered, I know there are people who do it different ways. I have to do the sound effects while I'm at it.
Interesting, yeah.
If the phone is ringing, I want that phone in there. And then I'm editing that in with the dialogue stuff. Oh, the phone's ringing, whatever. I didn't do footsteps for years. And then suddenly people are talking about, I think, God, I never do footsteps. So, people come in, they just start talking. So I've started doing, but I'm taming it down as well, because if they're not really subtle, they're so annoying.
Yeah, no, I totally get you.
Really, really annoying. So, and my best lesson was I went out down Smithdown Road here to get some cafe sounds, and I bumped into a mate, and we went in, had a coffee, and asked the cafe owner if he would turn down the music so that I could just record some clatter of crockery and people, background chatter and stuff. And as we came out, walking along the street, and I think, oh, this is great. I'm getting some traffic. This is good. And I get home, and I'm thinking, oh gosh, I better have some footsteps. And I don't know how long it took me to listen back to that recording that I've got my phone right beside my feet, my knees anyway, as I'm walking in the traffic. You can't hear footsteps.
And that's the whole Foley thing, isn't it? Half of the time, it doesn't exist. Like, we expect to hear a schnick if somebody's drawing a sword. It doesn't happen. Sheaths are made of leather. They're not made of metal. It's like, but, we expect those things. I mean, I'm chosen the lazy path. I don't have to do any of that. I might get, my son happens to be a video editor. He happens to work for me. And so I get him to do, pull these things together. So occasionally he'll chuck something in that's relevant to the plot. But essentially, I want to keep it really, really easy. But I have to say, I am tempted. One day I would like to take, one of my really amateurish novel pieces and try and turn that into an audio drama. But I'm kind of terrified by the whole idea of having to put in the atmosphere, the soundscape, and to try and think about things like, the background noise of traffic, the walking, the environment, because it just feels like a mystical art to me.
Well, it isn't. It's really, at sort of my basic level anyway, it's just trial and error. You want when I remember the first cafe scene that I had back in the in 21. I was on my way to. I'm trying. What was I doing? I was co-hosting a folk program over on the Wirral.
Mm.
I went over and I was early, so I stopped in a cafe and I thought, record some cafe. You know, you just take your phone out. It's got voice. Mine's got voice memo, but I've got another slightly more fancy little app called Voice Record Pro, and you just record about 10 seconds and then run it on a loop.
I don't get me wrong, I've got the kit for it. I do occasionally interview other game developers at shows, so I've got these little like pin mics I can unuse. They're really good, and so I've got the kit for it. I just have that kind of. I think it's because I've already got so many other things to think about.
Well, that's it. You don't need to do
Yes,
it at the moment.
exactly. I don't need to do
If
that.
you ever get to when you do want to do it and you need to do it, give me a shout and I'll just say, go do it.
Exactly.
It's
The
oh,
kit can be.
I mean, I prefer the stuff that I record myself. I do have access to some of the Soundly library, not a lot, but some of it, because I've moved from Audacity over to Hindenburg, and they've included part of the Soundly library in there. So I'll go there first, someone's walking down a corridor kind of thing.
I use because Adobe have a bunch of elements that you can use if you're a subscriber. I also have one called Envato I kind of sign up to. So there are these libraries out there with royalty-free stock kind of elements, which are incredibly useful.
The stuff you can do yourself is so much better.
I bet.
More fun.
More fun, or more. And I think
more fun.
I think that's the lesson to take from this is that, if you are out there wanting to make your own audio drama, diving into, the content and realizing, I think you said it really well earlier. It's like, if you don't do it properly, you're not learning. And actually half the fun is the learning.
Exactly. Yeah.
So, I mean, we've got our recordings, we've done the editing. What's next for you in terms of the process?
If I've done it and it's edited, then the next thing is to throw it up into Megaphone, which is the host of the moment. I'm still waiting to be transferred because I don't like Megaphone. But anyway, so I'll upload my audio and I have to write my show notes. And into the show notes, I'll include all the accreditations for SFX, if there is, in the cast list. So I have to do that. And then I'll schedule it to go live. And then once it's gone, sorry, let's go back. So I've done it. It's all edited. It's all exported into the file to go up to Megaphone.
Yeah.
Listen to it again.
Yes.
Spot the errors. Go back and fix them.
Go back and fix them.
Wait for another couple of days. Listen to it again. Go back and fix the errors. Upload it, schedule it, ready to go. It goes at midnight on Thursday night. Try and remember to listen to it on Thursday night. Sometimes I'm waking up at 10 past midnight on Thursday night going, forgot to listen to it. I'll listen to it. I'll hear the errors. I'll have to go back and do it again.
Yeah. I mean, it's so common. I mean, I've taken the lazy route, so the errors are part of the joy of it. That's what makes it authentic. But I think we have the similar problems in terms of like making games, any content. It's taking the time to make sure that you don't just check it, but you get other people to help you check it. And you take time between the last check to check it again, because it's so easy to read over the line that is wrong because in your head you know how it's supposed to be read. It's so easy to ignore the sentence that was said because you know what it was supposed to say.
Yeah.
Yeah, I find that particularly my writing, as amateur as it is, when I step back and I don't touch it for a few weeks and come back to it, it's like I'm reading someone else's work.
Absolutely.
Which
Yeah.
I think that's fantastic. Especially if I still like it.
That's it. Yeah. I mean, that's my feeling about the stuff that I'm doing. If it still makes me smile, I'm prepared to publish it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there's something wrong with it. Go back and fix it and make it more fun.
When that happens, how do you know what needed to be fixed?
The things that I'm hearing when I'm listening back to the final edit are editing boo-boos. there, a sound cue has shifted slightly on the
Right.
track. It's coming in at the wrong place, or it's
Mm.
just not there.
But if you suddenly find in the third listen you're not finding it funny anymore, how does that
No,
affect you?
I would
You'd
have
have
felt
fixed it
that.
by then, yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah. But I think that's something that some people will experience. At least maybe that's my bias. I kind of assume something that amuses you can often be something that has a time limit essentially on it, in my experience.
Yes, I know what you mean. If it's specific gags or anything like
Yeah.
that, but it's usually the behavior
Mm.
that it's not laugh out loud. I mean,
No.
the old yet isn't laugh out loud, occasionally, but very rarely, because I'm not aiming for it.
No.
But what I find is if I don't find myself smiling at least once in an episode, then I know it's lifeless kind of thing.
Yeah, and I think getting that tension right is so critical. Yeah, I mean, like I say, I can't write comedy. Well, not that I can't. It's just it's not my specialty. But I love creating situations and watching how people react and finding when you put people under tension, the way they react can lead to fantastic funniness.
Mhm.
Particularly when you get them to debrief afterwards. Someone reveals a secret that they knew that somebody else didn't know that would have changed everything. And that's like when they find out, you what? And that to me is magic. That's the
Mm.
joy. Getting
Yeah,
back to authenticity and but
yeah.
I suppose this is the point, is that there's so many different ways of telling stories, and you're coming at it from this comedy point of view where you're shining a light at the absurdity of family relationships under certain circumstances. At the same time, you're passing it through the lens of that kind of older generation woman, often dismissed, often kind of the treated in ways which you wouldn't want to be treated, and to be able to make light of that, to be able to highlight that, to be able to point that does something important in terms of telling a human story that has that deeper meaning, but at the same time doesn't have to hit you over the head with a stick.
Yeah, that's my devious plan.
But that's a good plan, isn't that? That's when the best stories happen, where we tell something true and we still laugh at it.
If you're enjoying this interview, why not check out this brief trailer from our guest?
Hi, Janie, what's up?
Mom, do you hear that thunder where you are?
Oh, yes, amazing, isn't it?
No, it's quite scary. Do you think there will be a terrible storm?
No, darling, it's just an announcement from Thunder's Mouth Theatre, poetry, passion and philosophy, all that stuff.
Oh, really? I thought they were producing audio fiction as a podcast nowadays. Like theatre, but on the air rather than on the stage.
Am I old yet?
No, Mum, of course you aren't. Don't be silly.
I'm talking about the podcast. That's what it's called. Am I old yet? And it's more than 3 years old, and that is pretty old for an audio fiction podcast. And no, I'm not being silly. For goodness sake, Janie, how old do you have to be before you can call yourself old? No, don't answer that. It's a rhetorical question. Just head over to amioldYet.com to listen to the podcast.
Mom,
Janie.
isn't that the one about us?
Oh, yes. Didn't I say? Yeah. Well, it's the kind of stuff that I like.
Yeah.
Yeah. And
I
there's
think
not a lot of it around. And then that's been my major challenge, in fact, in the promotional aspect, is people say, well, who's your market? Well, really, who's my market? It's certainly not, if I go by who, the Spotify and whoever is doing demographics, figures of who's downloading it, they kind of sit between 18 and 80, with probably tilted slightly more to the over 45s, if that, but, and only slightly more women than men as well.
But it's fairly universal concept. I mean, it is accessible.
Yeah, well, that's what I want to do. That's what I feel as if I'm doing. If I had something else there, but it's gone.
I'm interrupting. My problem is I'm very biased to science fiction and fantasy, and I tend to do a lot of science fiction stuff because it happens to be my thing. But that means my audience is going to be relatively niche. And then you add to that I'm also doing a live game style thing that's improvised. I like to think funny, but funny in circumstance rather than funny ha-ha, and funny in the results of the interactions rather than the
Yeah.
traditional comedy style things.
Mm.
So, you know, I have a similar problem. I have a niche of a niche of a niche of a niche.
Huh? Yeah.
And that's okay,
Yeah.
because
Yeah.
my success is I've got some people who tell me they enjoyed watching it. I'm
Yep.
fine with that. I've got another bunch of people who enjoy playing it.
Yes.
That's success.
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
But, I mean, do you think that is this kind of audience material something which do you think will possibly scale? Or is that not the point?
I'd love more people to listen to it, but I don't see it happening. I really don't. I mean, it's like, I'm slotted into the comedy category,
Mm-hmm.
but if I go and I look for comedy podcasts, they're not doing what I'm doing. I'm not doing what they're doing. It's not the same kind of comedy, even light comedy, it's just not, it's not that. And this has always been the challenge ever since I started trying to, think of how do I get it out there? Where do I put it? And they say, well, name 3 other podcasts that if people like yours, then they'll like these 3 other podcasts. I said, I'll tell you 3 other podcasts that I like, but they're nothing like what I do.
But you could talk about generations of BBC, situational comedy radio shows that follow not the same pattern, but there are parallels to what you're doing. Is that they haven't translated into the podcast world, or is it that?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm not seeing them. I'm not seeing them, and I'm not. I mean, on the radio, so I still listen to the BBC radio. The stuff that they're putting on at the moment, the sort of daily half-hour drama thingy, there's nothing particularly comedic in any
No.
respect. They're all pretty serious. They're pretty grim, basically. And then if you switch over to Radio 4 Extra, you'll get comedy.
Yeah.
But it's hilarious. And mine is not hilarious. It's not
No.
the same thing. It's
No,
just
that's
not.
fair. That's fair. I was thinking more of the kind of bittersweet comedy stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, for some reason, my head has gone to Butterflies, which probably most people listening to this won't know what it's about.
Loved Butterflies.
But
yes.
you know what I mean? It's like,
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
it has parallels to some of the elements of
Yeah.
what Butterflies was trying to do for
Yeah.
me. When I read about
You know
your
what
stuff,
people have suggested to me stuff like not going out and outnumbered.
not going out. Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I can't bear them.
Really?
Really. They
Yeah.
annoy me so much because they're being stupid.
Yes.
And I don't enjoy watching people being stupid.
And that is fair because they've amped the tension in an
Yeah.
artificial way.
Yeah.
Whereas there's another one, I'm trying to remember what it was called. There was a classic one where some of the people who were in the Love Actually film were in, I've forgotten the name of it, a bunch of lawyers. It was a drama, but it had these very gentle comedy moments in it without being funny. And it's not a comedy program, it's a drama program, but I could see how slices of writing in that were genuinely lovely and amusing and made you think. And I think that's, to me, really interesting, untapped vein. And I kind of wonder whether there's a wider question about, are we being served as an audience that we don't get to find content like this?
Yeah.
That's
I don't think we are.
No.
Yeah.
But the joy for me, and the reason why I love doing these conversations, is because I get to talk to people who are doing all sorts of crazy stuff. I was talking to a guy the other day who did a audio fiction concept album, which is a fantastic idea.
I heard. I'd actually heard that.
Yeah.
I've actually got it downloaded. It was a beautiful album. Marvelous. Perfect sentence.
Perfect sentence. That's exactly the one. And when you think about that, and you then compare it to, say, the Adam who does Vigil, which is he's an actor based in the US. He's got his whole series, completely different concepts, completely different themes, completely different styles. You got people doing actual plays. I was on an actual play with the D Future Show, which was a stupid idea of taking Jason Statham on holiday. It's just idiotic, intentionally idiotic.
Yeah.
And everybody puts on their worst Cockney accents just because you can. And it's just silly.
Yeah.
To my mind, the joy is that none of this stuff would have been commissioned.
Mm.
The joy of it is that people can express themselves in this way, and people can find these kind of joyous experiences, and we can experiment, we can try, and we can deliver something for an audience.
Yeah. Do you know, to me, I sort of hit upon this a few years ago. It's fringe theatre, only for the years. The best fringe theatre.
Love it.
Independent, profit share. Yeah. Yeah. If there is any money, then it's shared out.
Yeah, exactly. Precisely.
But you have so much more liberty to just make the stuff that you would like to see or hear without being obliged to satisfy your subscribers or whatever, you know?
No, totally. Well, it's been an absolute delight chatting to you. Is there one thing that you would like people who are interested in creating audio drama or actual plays or various other things like that? Is there one thing you'd like to take away from this conversation?
Do it.
Pretty much.
It doesn't get done unless you do it. And if you don't have a go, you'll never get any better at it.
Exactly.
You have a go.
Have a go. Love it. And I totally agree with that. There's so many options and choices. And to me, the satisfaction and creativity is massive. I think that there's a lot of amazingly talented people who deserve that profit share, elusive profit share we've been talking about. But sometimes we do it because of the love of the craft.
Yes.
With that in mind, what's the best way for people to find out about the podcast?
www.amioldYet.com.
Perfect. And we'll put that in the show notes, and I will try and put a link into that as well. And maybe you can try and see if we can get, hopefully we'll find a way to put a little trailer to it in this podcast as well. So with that note, I hope you've enjoyed that. I've had a fantastic time.
Thank you so much, Oscar. It's been a lot of fun.
I've loved it. And if you've enjoyed this, please like, share, follow, all that kind of stuff. But importantly, as Floyd said, tell someone about it. That's what this is about. That's how we connect with people. Woohoo! So, thank you very much, and we'll be back next time. We'll talk to some more amazing people talking about audio drama and actual plays. Thank you.
Welcome to 4 Top 3s, where 4 friends list our top 3 favourite things about a random subject of choice.
You might be wondering, hey, I already have like 75 other podcasts that is basically just 4 people who are friends talking bullshit at each other. Why should I be listening to this? We are actually from 4 different countries, so we are hoping to bring 4 different perspectives on all of these topics that we are about to choose.
You throw Lion King out there like a dirty rag, and then you pontificate over Lilo and Stitch?
That was very good.
I thought you tried to give them back.
No,
I purchased a bunch of milk and bananas. Could I return them? I haven't opened them yet. I just spent the night with 2 of the milks.
Turkeys could talk. They'd sound like Mr. Meeseeks. I wasn't made to live this long. Kill me.
Oh no.
Oh, President Turkeys, I love it.
Oh, fuck my face. You can find 4 Top 3s wherever you find your podcasts, and we release at the end of every month. See you then.